The best way to overcome lust that no one talks about. I spent more than 2 years now studying pornography addiction, how our brains work, but I haven't come across this explanation of how to overcome lust. So let's dig into this. I'm gonna uh, put up my sleeves so that it doesn't go in the way. But yeah, so you're in this current position. Doesn't matter if you're struggling a lot or just a little bit. If you're engaging in lust 3 times a week, 3 times a day, or 3 times a year, you are in a position that is not freedom. And you want to reach freedom, and you try a lot of different ways to do so. So throughout your life, since you started looking for freedom, you probably tried prayer, but it didn't work. You tried adult content blockers, didn't work. You tried accountability, to ask a friend at church to pray for you. It also didn't really produce the results. You maybe also tried reading a book by someone who knows more about lust, but also didn't work. You're still not in freedom. The perfect circumstance, the perfect way would be just draw a straight line. I know this is not straight, but I can try again. So draw a straight line and just go towards freedom. But this is, even though this is a perfect way, it's incredibly unrealistic. Because if you knew the perfect way, you would have done it already. But we don't know. And the most realistic way is we try something, encounter difficulties, so we change the strategy, and then we slowly start to, maybe not that straightforward, but we start going closer and closer to freedom until we hit it, until we find the freedom. When our current position reaches the freedom, the goal that we want to achieve. But this is also not a perfect way. It takes a lot of time. This is also the green line. It's also very hard to know in your specific current position, in your specific circumstances, in the way you are built, because we're all slightly different, even though lust is quite a universal issue for men. We are dealing with different things. Different things trigger us, and some things that I struggle with, you will never struggle with, because we are slightly different. So there's no universal perfect line towards freedom. And the best way is to, when you find it in this squiggly line that is not as straightforward. But again, that takes a lot of time. And that green line is not the perfect way. That's what I wanted to communicate. Yeah, that green line is not a perfect way. So, the most perfect way is not looking for freedom, but bringing freedom to your current position. Now, this is the change of thinking that I want to bring into you. So instead of going from there to there, I want you to think that you need to bring freedom to your current position. And this video is going to explain how to do that. The problem with the previous method is that it's like you're in a dark room and there's a massive wall, not just a regular room, but like a massive wall. And it's dark, you're in the night, and you're looking to switch on the light so you can see. So the old method is like that. You're looking, you're touching all the wall, you're trying to find ways where the light switch is so you can switch on the light. But it's very difficult. It is not straightforward. because you don't know where freedom is. You don't know where the light switch is. You need the light. You need something, even the small light, to guide you and to show you a bigger picture so you can reach the switch and flip it. And most men, I forgot what is next. So I have to what is it? Okay, so most men, when I speak to them and I try to help them to overcome lust, when I ask them, how does your perfect life would look like if you're free? Like, how does it look like? Can you just draw it for me? And they can't. And it's quite bizarre because when you think about it, if you don't know how it looks like, how do you go towards it? It is like walking in the dark. In our lives, I shared this in previous video, that there is a natural flow how things go. Everything starts with a thought. Thoughts create feelings. Feelings lead to decisions. Decisions lead to actions. A lot of actions build a habit, um, influence your character, and eventually lead to a certain destiny. So everything starts with thoughts. So this is the explanation, very short one. But then when you think about how does your life look like in freedom, I want to emphasize that. How does your life look like in freedom in each of these areas? Oh, I want to make it bigger. So let's say that you're free. How do you think? What and how do these thoughts make you feel? What decisions do you make? What actions do you take? And when it comes to temptations, when it comes to urges, when it comes to triggers, when it comes to difficult things that actually now make you fall for lust, how do you deal with those things if you were free? What habits would you have? What kind of character would you show to others? And what kind of destiny all that life in freedom would bring to you? So people don't know, most men that I speak to, I haven't met anyone who actually has a very clear image of the life in freedom, because I think those people are free and they don't need um, someone to guide them into freedom. So let's come back to the same illustration. You're here, doesn't matter how much you struggle, and you want to be in freedom. The way we bring freedom to our current position is by thinking about it. So the more time you spend thinking about it, and this is my very rough way to showing in an animation attempt, but the more you think about freedom, the more it is clear, the more it consumes you in a way in your heart. The more you can speak about it, the more you can imagine it, the more real it becomes, until it becomes your current position. Uh, like that. And the lust is, well, you're free. It's not there. But with the old model, as we try to look for ways to freedom, we are focusing more and more and more and more and more on the things that we don't have, on the things that we lack, because we're not free. So you keep on looking at yourself and you're like, yeah, I'm still struggling. But there's this idea of freedom. Yeah, I know, but I'm still struggling. I'm still not free. I'm still not free. I'm still not free. And it just grows and grows, and it's very difficult to do something about it. And you only have this little dot of freedom as an idea, but you don't know how to make that a reality. Unless you focus on freedom, allow it to grow and consume you in a way, and to consume your current position of your struggle. So what we focus on grows bigger, and what we ignore grow smaller. If I told you, do not think about blue banana, you thought about it. It's impossible. So, in this old model, when you think about yourself and the current position that you want to leave, if you going from this, yeah, I'm not explaining very well, but if you're going from your current position to freedom, you're more focused on your current position because you're constantly evaluating, am I there yet? Am I there yet? Am I there yet? And you don't think about how that there looks like. It's more of like a comparison. It's more like, well, literally looking for that light switch in the dark, massive room. But if you want to stop thinking about blue banana, what do you need to do? You need to think about red apple or something else. So you need to change your focus, and that will grow, and you'll forget about what you should forget about the blue banana. So now the practical part. How do we practically increase freedom? And I thought of 3 ways. There's probably more, but these are main big ways, and I think it's enough to be completely free, to reach complete freedom. So there's 3 main ways to increase that visibility, so it consumes your current position of current position that you don't want to have. And first one is lifestyle, second is identity, and third one is truth. Let's speak about lifestyle. First Peter 2:16, Peter wrote that act as free people. Do not use your freedom as a cover for evil, but use it as bond servants of God. There is a saying that gets a bad rap, but I think there is a reason why it's wrong. But in this case, it is useful. Act as free. It's like fake it until you make it. Why? Because if you fake it, you start thinking about like free. You start feeling as if you're free. You start making decisions as if you're free, and your actions are actions of someone who's free. And then you get used to those actions. It creates a habit and forms your character and changes your destiny from being from someone who's struggling to someone who's completely free. Most men think about how bad they are when they struggle with lust. They keep on, like, if I stretch the entire day, because I experienced this as well, so I know I'm speaking also from experience. But when we are struggling with lust, we feel so bad, like that consumes us. We feel shame, we feel guilt, we feel regret, disappointment, and that's the only thing we think about. But what if you spend the majority of your day actually thinking about freedom? How does your life would look like if you thought as someone who's free? What would you do when urges come? What would you do if someone who's really a woman who's really not dressed properly comes and tries to lure you towards herself? How would you react? How would you feel if you were free? What decisions would you make? What actions would you take? If you daydream more about your life of freedom, that will grow. Where is that thing? It will grow because you focus on it. And automatically you will ignore the blue banana. You will ignore the thing you're actually trying to avoid, which is lust. So the more familiar, clear, and defined the image of freedom is in your life, the easier it becomes to get there. But the more you think about how strong lust has the grip on you, how bad it is, no wonder it feels like there's some kind of power possessed you and you can't make your own decisions because you constantly think about it. You made it so big that it's hard to see something else. It consumed even freedom, and freedom is just like an idea you wish you could experience, but it's not really the reality you're working towards. It's more like you're looking in the dark for the light switch rather than having a really good method working towards finding that switch. And when you think about freedom, it's like you're putting on a match. And the more you think about freedom, that match in that dark room where you're looking for a switch just grows. And the more and more light you produce. And eventually you'll see the switch and you flick it and it's on. You're free. But you'll realize that you actually carried the light with yourself. It wasn't coming as much from outside as from you. But that's for another time. Second way to increase the visibility of freedom is to think about your identity. So this is your life, your lifestyle. This is your identity. I often ask men what kind of perfect man looks like a godly man who is doing things as he should be. Like how does it look like? And I believe that the answers to that question actually define the man that God created you to be. Because he placed those ideas in your heart of how you should be, how in the people you look up to. So it's not because every man defines it differently. So I believe everyone has their different flavor of potential. And now I'm gonna blow your mind. There is a verse that the more I read, it's really hard to believe. But look, since you have heard about Jesus and have learned the truth that comes from him, throw off your old sinful nature and your former way of life, which is corrupted by lust and deception. So Paul says to throw off your old sinful nature. It's not who you are. Instead, let the Spirit renew your thoughts and attitudes. Put on your new nature, created to be like God, truly righteous and holy. And this is kind of crazy. We are created to be like God, truly righteous and holy. And what Jesus did on the cross empowers us to reach that place. This is not unattainable with Jesus, but it's unattainable with our own strength. But now look at this. Throw off your old sinful nature and put on your new nature. That means you could be born again, you could be a believer, and you could be wearing old rags that are corrupted by lust and deception. But you're not supposed to wear those things. You are supposed to wear your new nature, which is created to be like God, truly righteous and holy. And this is contrasting lust and deception to righteousness and holiness. I'm going to delete these so it's not blocking the text. And it's the same way with your identity. The clearer the image of who you are called to be, of your potential, the easier it is to become that person. But it's very hard to become that person if you're constantly thinking about your old sinful nature, how corrupted it is, how deceived it is, but it's not who you are. You need to put on your new nature and think about it. And that leads me to the truth. Paul also wrote, "Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true," and I forgot to mention the context. So these verses come soon after Paul says, "Do not worry about anything, but with everything, with prayer and supplication, give your request to God, and then He will give you the peace that surpasses all understanding." And then before that, he says, "Rejoice always." And I repeat again, rejoice. So I believe these three things are vital for our mental well-being. Is choosing joy or gratitude. It is to let our requests, let our worries known to God so He can give us peace. And the third one, which connects to what I'm speaking about today, which is increasing the visibility of freedom, So the freedom comes to you instead of you looking for freedom like in a dark room, looking for a light switch. And I lost the train of thought. I thought this like such a good sentence, but I'm like, what was the beginning? But yeah, so the truth is what you need to focus on. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there's any excellence, and if anything worthy of praise, think about these things. Do not think about your former way of life, which is corrupted by lust and deception. Like Israelites, when they left Egypt, they were thinking about, they had bread, they had meat, their life was predictable, but yet they were in slavery. And because of looking back on the former way of life, they couldn't put on the new nature. They couldn't put on the promises of God that where God was leading them to the promised land. So that's why Paul says, and that's why it's so important for our mental well-being, is to think on whatever is true, honorable, right, pure, lovely, commendable, what's excellent and worthy of praise. It's never think about how bad you are. Think about what you messed up. He doesn't say that. It's completely opposite. Think about the good things. Why? Because what you focus on grows bigger in your heart, in your values. You start producing it more. That's saying that you are the person average. How does it say? I haven't prepared it. So, like you're the average of 5 people you hang around with. Because we focus on how they act, how they behave, what they do, what they say, and we start copying them. So if you think about all these positive things, and this is not positive thinking necessarily, it's godly thinking, it's healthy thinking, it's when your brain is washed in a good way, and you have to wash it because the enemy wants to make it corrupted with lust and deception. So you have to think about these things because then these things will become your life. Just like I shared, we have it here. Your thoughts will lead to feelings, decisions, actions, habits, character, and eventually destiny. That's why we are called to think on these things, not on the negative things, because negative things also become our destiny then. Yeah. So let it grow bigger. Think about these things, meditate on these things. But also, one of the many important keys in this step is to leave every relapse, every mistake, everything that relates to lust in the past. Don't carry it with you. Why? Because you are working towards freedom. I know I'm saying that we need to bring freedom towards us, but like the future reality is when that freedom becomes who we are, becomes so big, becomes so clear and defined that we start living in that, and it consumes our current position, which is not perfect. So that's why we leave it behind as part of our history, as part of our testimony. We don't carry guilt, shame, condemnation, because we are putting on the new nature. We're throwing off the old sinful nature because we are called to live as free, not live as bound. Yeah, so once you fall, no matter how difficult it is, leave it behind. Ask God for forgiveness, receive that forgiveness, and just leave it behind. Know that you cannot change what you've done. You cannot change the past. You cannot undo it. But if you hold on to it, you cannot change your future. So that is the most important thing, is that you change your future. So when your lifestyle of freedom becomes very clear, when you know your identity in Christ, who God called you to be, what is your potential, when you just spend most of your day, well, it's best all of your day, but I'll be realistic because we also remember the mistakes, we remember the things we failed at. And why do we remember? Because we want the good things. So why not just allow ourselves to be overwhelmed by those things, to thank God to the to thank God for the men that He called us to be. And then if you focus on the truth, on what is good, on what is positive, on what God wants us to focus on, and when we leave all those bad things behind, then freedom will increase and will consume the current position of the struggle, no matter how big it is. And I'm going to leave you with a quote. This is from the book called Play the Man by Mark Batterson. And I think I quote this very often, and I think this opened my eyes. So he says, the secret to not sinning is not sinning. It's not thinking about blue banana. The secret to sinning less is dreaming more. You need a God-sized dream that is bigger and better than whatever sinful temptation you face. And that's what I was trying to convey to you, that this needs to increase. The freedom needs to increase. You need a vision for your marriage that is better than internet pornography. You need a vision for your life that is bigger and better than selfish ambition. Because when it is bigger, it's gone. The selfish ambition, the bad things, they're gone. And I've experienced it in my life and in some men's lives who are taking this seriously. And that's what I wish for you as well.